Visible, sir.
Yeah, it's visible also.
Yes, yes.
Visible, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Namaste.
Very good afternoon, sir.
So, friends, until last week, we have discussed several topics up to leadership, and one unit in leadership was remaining. That is the contemporary issues in leadership. We are going to discuss this topic of contemporary issues in leadership today, and also the next two units, that is conflict and negotiation, because they are small chapters and both are related. I have combined them into one single session, uh, conflict and negotiation both. So we'll first discuss the contemporary issues in leadership. Only 15 participants I could see here.
Yeah.
Should we expect any more? How was the class strength in the morning today?
More
No,
of
sir.
them.
16.
16, that's all.
Yeah, very less are coming.
Okay. Maybe
You can
Sunday.
continue, sir. No problem.
No problem. Okay. Yeah, let us hope Sunday more people will join. So I'll start with this presentation on presentation in session on contemporary issues in leadership. Okay, before we go into the details, just I wanted to present you some facts and figures about the state of leadership in the country as well as abroad. Okay, you can just see what is the leadership report card looking like. See, in India and other places, you see the leadership development, how far the subject is very important or very important. For example, all over the world, it says that 78% of all business and human resource leaders say that it is currently important or very important. And in India, 86% of people say that it is important or very important. You can see when the performance of leaders or bosses is rated. So about 62% of American employees rate their boss's performance as A or B, that is at the highest or second highest grade. But you can also see that only 16% of all American employees still, at least 16% grade their leaders as D or F. That means D is the lowest. I think F means failure. Further, you can see that 38% of employees surveyed in India says that they can perform the boss's job better than them, better than the boss. That means they can do a better job than what their job is, boss is doing right now. And you can see that about 26% of employees surveyed in India say that their boss should not be in leadership role at all. So that means that person is not even fit to be a leader in their opinion. Next, as regards the vision that is being projected by the leaders, you can see that 42% of about 40,000 employees surveyed in about 300 companies across the world, they say that they know their organization's vision, mission, and values. And 61% of all employees, 32,000 employees surveyed, they say that their leaders are able to communicate a clear and compelling vision of the future. However, 38% of employees surveyed across 30 countries, they don't believe that their employers, they don't believe in their employer's mission or purpose, and also, or they do not understand it. So this is very, very important because 38% of people are not able to believe in their mission or purpose, or not able to understand it. So this is the state of leadership in the country, in the world. So what is leadership? When we see, you just understand this code, the world is made up of those people who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who ask what has happened. So what do you expect? Where do the leaders fall? In these three categories, where do the leaders fall? Do they fall in who make things happen, or watch things happen, or ask what has happened?
Make things happen.
Yeah, excellent, sir. So that is how the leaders are supposed to be. They are here to deliver the goods. They are supposed to lead the people. They are supposed to make things happen, not just see what is happening or ask what has actually happened. That means they are not even involved. They are following a laissez-faire kind of leadership that is not expected from a very efficient and effective leader. So what are our challenges to understanding the leadership? How to select the leaders? So how to identify effective leaders? So reviewing specific requirements for the position of a leadership role. Then consider personality tests to identify the leadership traits in potential candidates as to which candidate should be selected and based on which personality tests. And certain specific situation-specific experiences also of the leader are also relevant. And accordingly, there should be a plan for change in the leadership. It cannot just happen overnight. There has to be a proper planning for change in the leadership because it is a very big task. A leader is going to lead the organization for years together. So planning for change is very important. If you don't plan to succeed, then you are planning to fail. That's the highlight of the issue. Yeah, you wanted to add something, sir?
No. That plan to plan, that's a good quotation.
Yeah.
If you don't plan, you will fail, bound to fail.
Yes, sir. So training leaders. So leadership training is likely to be successful with high self-monitors. Who are these high self-monitors? They are willing to adapt to the situation. They are willing to accede to others' point. They are likely to exhibit a low attitude, behavior, consistency. That means they are, whenever they are required, they can set aside their attitude and meet the situation or come to the level of the people with whom they are interacting. That is a very important leadership trait in managing the people. High self-monitors. Then implementation skills also can be taught to the would-be leaders, prospective leaders. And one of the important factors in leadership is building trust, believing in others, and getting the trust reposed back in the leader by the followers. So teaching trust building, mentoring, and situational analysis to the leaders is also very important. And behavioral modeling, behavioral training through modeling exercises also will increase a person's leadership qualities. Then review leadership, how the previous leader or the present leader has performed. Has to be, this kind of review has to happen after all major or key organizational events. Then training in transformational leadership skills. This also helps in identifying and training leaders for bigger roles. Then coming to contemporary theories of leadership, one very important thing is we have to understand transformational leadership, and charismatic leadership. So when we are talking about these kinds of leaders, one important thing is that their communication is super efficient and super perfect. How do they enable that? How they are able to achieve that kind of communication? In leadership communication, there is a concept called framing. What is framing? Framing means leaders define and present the messages to influence their subordinates in such a way that they are well perceived by the followers. When they are trying to communicate, they take certain specific aspects of the subject, while you can say either ignoring or excluding or setting aside certain aspects. That means they highlight certain aspects only, while setting aside or downplaying the others. So by this, what the leaders can do, the leaders can shape the understanding of the followers. They can motivate the team members and also foster a shared sense of purpose among the team members. All of this will impact the team performance and engagement, and also lead to a higher satisfaction levels and higher performance of the team. So by using this concept called framing, the transformational leaders and charismatic leaders are able to achieve much more. So what is the difference between these two as far as communication is concerned? Charismatic leadership places more emphasis on the way the leaders communicate. Are they passionate enough? Are they dynamic enough? Whereas transformational leadership focuses on more what they are communicating, what kind of messages they are giving, whether the vision they are projecting or proposing, is it a compelling vision that that followers are able to follow and adopt, whether this is a compelling vision or not. These both refer to the communication aspect of the leaders, and only those who are well versed in framing, they will be able to exploit this opportunity. So the focus of both these kind of leaders in this ability is to inspire the followers. So coming to charismatic leadership, Max Weber said, this is a certain quality of an individual's personality by virtue of which he or she is set apart from the ordinary men and treated as endowed with supernatural, superhuman, or at least specifically exceptional powers or qualities. This is how Max Weber, who is an expert in management and bureaucracy, he has told about charismatic leadership. Then another definition or explanation given regarding charismatic leadership by Robert House. Robert House was one of the co-proponents of the path goal theory, which we discussed last week. So he said that transcendence is attributed implicitly to both the qualities of a leader and also the content of his mission. So it is attributed implicitly, that is not it is explicit, to the qualities of the leader and also the content of his mission. So coming to charismatic leadership. So charismatic leadership means what? Charismatic leadership, these leaders are always bubbling with invisible energy, and they are acting like magnets and attracting lots of followers. What is their charisma? Charisma in general means that it is an ability to inspire enthusiasm, interest, or affection in others by means of personal charm or influence. What is it? The ability to inspire enthusiasm, interest, or affection in others by means of personal charm or influence. So this we are talking basically about influence. You remember last week we discussed about the concept of power and also the personal power in that. So charisma is one kind of personal power where people without having a specific role in the organization itself, they are able to lead the organizations or the teams. They don't have any positional power or legitimate power. Through exercise of their personal power, like charisma, they are able to lead the organizations. So charismatic leaders, you can see that they are very passionate, they are driven individuals, they have a compelling vision of the future. Through that vision, they can generate very high levels of excitement among the followers or the team members and build particularly strong emotional bondings with them. And some charismatic leaderships can result in positive and relatively peaceful organizational or social changes. You can see that leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela have done a commendable work for their respective countries through their personal charisma. But it can also have negative effects also. On the downside, when the passion is only for the personal gains, it can have devastating effects on the society. Very famous examples given are Hitler during the Nazi regime in Germany that led to the World War, or Kim Jong of North Korea. They are interested more in personal power. That is only for personal gains, selfish gains. That is why it can have devastating effect on the society. So that is what we are referring to, the dark side of charismatic leadership. These leaders do not necessarily act always in the best interest of the organizations or the companies they are leading. Their personal goals can override the goals of their organization or the business or the corporation or even the country they are leading. So this narcissism, that means excessive self-interest, is associated with charismatic leadership, because we see positive side also, we see the negative side also. Negative side is narcissistic. If they become, that can be dangerous to the organizations and the businesses or even the countries. So how charismatic leaders are able to influence the followers? They are able to articulate a appealing vision. They are able to develop a vision statement that will be accepted by all the followers. They will establish a new set of values. Both the leader himself will follow and also will set the tone for the followers to accept and implement. Then these leaders have tremendous courage and conviction about the vision, and they take all the steps to achieve those visions. So what are the characteristics of charismatic leader? First one is very important one, vision and articulation. So the leader has a vision that is expressed as an idealized goal that proposes a future better than the status quo. That means the future is better than the status quo. He is leading the people towards a change. So he is able to clarify the importance of the vision in terms that are understandable to others. Only when the followers and teammates and all the subordinates understand the vision, then only it will lead to the desired results. Otherwise, there will be no integration of the members and the team into the leader's vision. Then personal risk. These leaders are willing to take a very high personal risk, and they incur very high personal costs, and also engaged in self-sacrifice to achieve that vision. You have seen several leaders, they are put to so much trouble. They faced so much what do you call this? For example, in our freedom movement also, the leaders have been put to jail for so many years. They have been taken away all the freedom. So they take high personal risk and engage in self-sacrifice.
Lot of suffering.
Lot of suffering, exactly. Then sensitivity to the followers' needs. The leader should be very perceptive and should be able to grasp the abilities of the followers. Not only the abilities, their needs, aspirations also should be taken into account, and their feelings. Then only the leader is sensitive and he can bring them into his fold. Then unconventional behavior. The leaders resort to behaviors that are perceived as novel and counter to the norms. They will do on all out of the box thinking, and they are willing to take all such unconventional steps to bring their vision to the people. Then when we are talking about charismatic leadership, we also see that there are certain people who are following some unethical considerations also while they are leading the organizations or firms or corporate or whatever. So how do we distinguish them? Ethical leader, he always uses the power to serve others, and unethical leader, he uses the power for personal gains. Ethical leader aligns the vision along with the needs and aspirations, feelings of the followers. But in case of unethical leader, he promotes his own personal vision. As long as that personal vision is for the larger good of the people, that is fine. But if the personal vision is only promoting self-interest, then that is a dangerous thing. Like we have seen that it has disastrous consequences. Then ethical leader learns, considers, and also learns from the criticism he receives. And unethical leader, he cannot tolerate any criticism and any opposing views of his vision or his behavior. Then ethical leader stimulates the followers to think independently, and he also permits them to question his own views and behavior. But unethical leader, he demands that his own decision should be accepted and no question should be asked. Ethical leader promotes two-way communication, but unethical leader is only interested in one-way communication. That is, his own word should go, and he can neither receive any feedback, receive any criticism, or receive any other comments about his ideas or behavior. Then ethical leader is interested in coaching, developing, and supporting the followers, and he also shares whenever his work is recognized or awarded, any such recognition is there, he will share with the followers. But in unethical leaders, they are insensitive to the followers' needs. He doesn't share any recognition if there is any positive recognition for him also. Then ethical leader relies on internal moral standards. That means he has his own internal moral standards. He will use them to guide him to satisfy the organizational and societal interest. But whereas unethical leader, he relies more on convenient external moral standard to satisfy the self-interest. He doesn't have his own moral standards that are good for the welfare of everyone, but he will follow certain convenient. That means he will selectively take whatever he wants to apply, that only he will take to satisfy his own self-interest. Then, does effective charismatic leadership depend on the situation? Yes, sometimes people are especially receptive when they sense a crisis or they are under stress. For example, when the companies are to adopt some new line of business or new products or new services, during those ideological change situations, then these charismatic leaders will be able to help. That in that kind of situation, charismatic leadership is very helpful. Then another question comes whether charismatic leaders are born or made. No doubt, certain individuals, certain people are born with charismatic traits, but others can be trained to exhibit charismatic behaviors. They may not be having the traits, but the charismatic behaviors can definitely be exhibited by adequate training. They can develop a sense of or aura of charisma, and they can be encouraged to show passion to generate the enthusiasm in the followers. So how they can do that? By speaking in an animated voice. That means in a voice that promotes the feelings and emotions of the followers. Then reinforcing the message with eye contact and facial expressions and gestures for emphasis. That means use of whole body language than just verbal communication. That will help in generating enthusiasm in the followers. Then he also, by bringing out the potential in the followers, by tapping into their emotions and creating a relationship that inspires them. So it means that the leaders need not be born, charismatic leaders, they can be trained. Then so far we have seen basically the transactional leadership style only, like all these Ohio studies, then contingency leadership theories, path goal theories. All these theories are based on transactional leadership style, where the leaders guide or motivate the followers in pursuit of the established goals, whereby they clarify the roles and task requirement and help in achievement of the goal, and also leading to satisfaction and high performance. But there are other kinds of people who lead the organization by transcending their own self-interests for the larger good of the organizations. These leaders are capable of having extraordinary and profound effect on their followers or subordinates. This kind of leader is called a transformational leader. So far, we have been talking about charismatic leader, but now we are going to talk about transformational leader. So what is the transformational leader do? He focuses on the concerns and development needs of the individual followers. He is able to excite, arouse, and inspire the followers to put extra effort or extra time and extra work to achieve the group goals. Then what are the characteristics? They act like a change agent when they are required to bring huge change in the organization. Then they show exemplary courage. They firmly believe in their subordinates' skills, abilities, capabilities, and they encourage them to perform well. They have certain value, they are value driven. They have their own internal set of values, which are for the larger good of the people. And they are lifelong learners. They just doesn't learn one time and that is not the end of the road. They keep learning through more and more experiences, and also they may be reading and understanding the environment. Then they are able to deal with complexity, ambiguity, and uncertainty. This is a very important quality of the leaders. They should be able to deal with complexity, ambiguity, and uncertainty. There is also a specific leadership theory about VUCA for understanding this specific aspect in leadership. Then they are visionaries. They have vision about future goals. Then what are the essential elements of transformational leadership? They develop and communicate a very strategic vision. Not only they develop and communicate, they model that vision. That means they live according to the values of those vision. They take those steps to implement the vision. And while they are leading, they encourage experimentation among the subordinates. They foster creativity and help the subordinates develop all the competent skills. Then they build commitment to the vision. When only the followers adopt the vision and the mission projected by the leader and are committed, then only it will have a lasting impact and a meaningful impact on the goal achievement. This commitment is possible only through, this is the highest level of influence, commitment. When we'll get the commitment, we'll get the commitment only through either charisma, that is through personal power, not just the coercive power or reward power or positional power, but it can happen only through personal power, either through expert power or charismatic power. Now a transformational leader will have something like charisma also. That is why the followers are having commitment to the vision projected by the leader. Then actually how the transformational leadership in real life works. So the leader, he is very creative. Not only he is creative, he also encourages creativity in the followers in developing new solutions or new products, new services that will be helpful to the organization. And he decentralizes responsibility. Then propensity to take risk. That means he is willing to take personal risk also, and that will definitely help as a model to the subordinates. They believe the leader more when the leader is taking more risks. Then compensation is geared towards the long-term results. This is somewhat looks like a transactional relationship, but yes, transformational leaders also are willing to give the compensation for getting the long-term results. Then there is a greater agreement among the top managers about the organizational goals. When the top managers are convinced and agree about the organization goals, then that will work. And the transformational leader will be able to get the results. Then what are the characteristics of transactional and transformational leaders? So the transactional leaders, they are having about four characteristics you can see. The first one is contingent reward, then management by exception, either active or passive, and laissez-faire style of leadership. Under contingent reward, the transactional leaders offer rewards for efforts or promise rewards for good performance and recognizes accomplishment. This is like exchanging some reward for the effort put. Then there are two kinds of leadership management style they show. Either that is active or passive. In active, what they do, they only search for deviations from the rules and standards and procedures, and then they take corrective action to rectify those deviations so that the path is clear and they are on the path to achieving the results. And where, on the other hand, there is passive management, where intervention is happening only when the standards are not met. There, in the previous one, actively, they are searching for deviations. Here, only when the deviations occur, at that time only the manager or the leader intervenes. Then, transactional leader, he follows a laissez-faire kind of leadership. He abdicates responsibilities and avoids making decisions. He lets the team to go on its own and chart out their own course and try to achieve the goals. Whereas transformational leader, his characteristics are different. So he has an idealized influence. He is inspirational and motivating. Then there is intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration. What are these factors? Like under the leader provides a vision and a sense of mission, and he also instills pride in the followers. He gains respect and trust. Not only gains and trust, gains respect and trust, but he also gives respect and trust to the followers. Then inspirational motivation, he communicates very high expectations, uses symbols to focus the efforts, expresses important purposes in very simple ways that are understandable by all the followers. That is, he is providing inspirational motivation to the followers. Then intellectual stimulation, he promotes intelligence, rationality, and careful and creative problem solving in the followers. Then individualized consideration. This means that he gives personal attention to the followers. He treats each employee individually. He coaches and also advises. These are all the characteristics of transformational leaders.
Excellent, sir.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt, sir?
Yes, please tell me.
Sir, in the previous slide,
Yeah.
laissez-faire is the only leader.
See, here when we talk about transactional leader, we have studied several leadership styles.
Yeah.
Okay, so in particular, these are all not common to all the leadership styles. In particular, this may not be particular to only all these may not be particular to only one kind of leader. For example, in democratic leadership, the laissez-faire will not apply, right? So it depends. Like they're all these features are there, but in every kind of leadership, there is contract of exchange of rewards, then management of the team. It's later. In certain cases, the transaction leader may also adopt a laissez-faire style. He may abdicate all his responsibility. He is interested in still getting the thing, but it may happen only by chance, right? We are not saying that all these four are equally applicable to every transaction leaders. Some characteristics. Agreed, sir?
Then my only submission is when
Can you be a little bit louder?
How he can be a transactional or transformational leader?
No. See, all the first four are the characteristics of transactional leader.
Sir.
Remaining four are the characteristics of transformational leaders. Is it clear?
Okay. Right, sir.
Okay.
Okay, right, sir. Thank you.
Right. So, in real life situations, transformational leadership is more strongly correlated with a variety of workplace outcomes, depending on the performance, the followers' satisfaction, all these, the requirements of the situation. So transformational leadership is more strongly correlated than the transactional leadership. That is what the research has proved. Then how do you evaluate transformational leadership? Transformational leadership has been supported at very diverse job levels, not just at the top level. It is at several job levels also. The transformational leadership has been proved to be successful, and it's different occupations also. But at the same time, it has not been effective in all situations. It has greater impact on the bottom line, that is on the profits of the, for example, a corporation or a business in a smaller privately held firms than in more complex and big organizations. So this concept of transactional leadership and transformational leadership, this was first brought out by one Mr. James Burns. He has said that leaders are of two types, that is transactional and transformational. He has brought out this distinction first time in 1978.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So these two, transactional leadership and also the transformational leadership, will be coming under the contemporary leadership category.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but a transaction, actually, this is a comparison. All, as we discussed, this transactional leadership style includes all the leadership styles we have studied under trade theories and behavior.
Yes.
all
Yes.
of them get combined in this one. So only when we are trying to understand what exactly is the transformational leadership style, we are trying to compare it with transactional leadership style.
So
This is
that is
mainly
one
for the sake
kind of leadership, and so both the leaderships are different but comes under a category of contemporary.
Under contemporary theories, we are studying basically only two theories. One is charismatic leadership and the other is transformational leadership. But to understand the transformational leadership style better, we are trying to compare it with the transactional leadership styles we have learned in the previous theories.
Okay.
This is not a separate leadership style by itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we understood that in transactional relationship, there exists some kind of exchange relationship that can be money for work or votes in case of political favors or loyalty for consideration, like that. And another thing is that there is no enduring purpose that holds the parties for a long time in transactional leadership. Once the transaction is over, the purpose is over, there is no lasting relationship. So this kind of leadership can be effective, but it doesn't result in any organizational change or societal change. It only helps maintain the status quo. There is no change that is going to happen through any transactional leadership. They are more like working like a managers who are interested in efficiency and effectivity, high productivity, nothing more than that. They are not looking for any change. But the same is not the case with transformational leadership. So the transformational leadership per se, by design, it is required to make changes in the status quo. It will challenge the status quo. It will appeal to the followers' values and their sense of higher purpose. So this is how they do. Transformational leaders articulate the problems in the current system, and they have a compelling vision of new society or new organization or the new business, what it is at present, what it will be after the vision is realized. Then the new vision is intimately, closely linked to the values of both leaders and followers. This is not the case in case of charismatic leaders when they are having their own personal gain set as their motive. So this represents an ideal that is congruent with their value systems. That is, they are interested in the welfare of the followers also. Then again, comparing a little charismatic leadership and transformational leadership. So transformational leaders are charismatic, but not all charismatic leaders are transformational. We need to note this. All transformational leaders are charismatic. Okay, which is a broader concept. Transformational leadership is a broader concept, but not all charismatic leaders are transformational. Okay, this vision and these relationships are aligned with followers' value systems and help them get their needs met. Both is happening in transformational as well as charismatic, but not all are charismatic. But all transformational leaders are charismatic. So charismatic leaders who are not transformational can convey a vision and form stronger emotional bonds with the followers, but they do so to get their own needs met. That is what. When they are having selfish interests, they are still charismatic, but they are not transformational. They are not going to do something which is good for everybody. Both charismatic and transformational leaders strive for organizational or society change. The difference is whether the changes are for the benefit of the leader himself or for the followers as well as the organization or the business or the nation that they are leading. These are the differences. Then this is just another way of presentation of their leadership style. Here under charismatic leadership, leader is the head of the show. He's the whole and soul. Under transformational leadership, leader is still the head of the show, but he is open to all the followers' inputs and participation from the followers. Here, charismatic leadership, vision fulfillment is by stimulating followers to the leader's vision. Here, the leader will incorporate the needs and aspirations of the followers into the vision. That means it is a common vision of both the leader and the followers. This is broader, the transformational leadership. Here, the vision is broader. Here, charismatic, it is only the vision of the leader. Here in transformation, it is the combined vision. That is, the vision is unified one. It is a common vision of both the leader and the followers. In charismatic leaders, leaders are most likely to emerge in crisis situations, but in transformational leadership, such leaders can emerge at any different level at any time based on the requirement. Then behavior of the leader is for his own goals and to promote the feelings of obedience and dependency in followers. This is very essential. He wants to all the followers to be obedient and be dependent on the leader. But here he encourages, that is transformational leader, encourages teamwork and commitment to the shared goals. That is the shared goals of the leader and also the team. That is the basic difference. So here you can understand more clearly what is charismatic leadership and transformational leadership. So I just wanted to present, last week also I discussed, I said the case of Fiat. So Fiat is a very big automotive manufacturing company in Italy. So this is a past story, almost about 20 years back. In the year 2004, the company Fiat was the laughing stock of the at that time. So whenever this story is given by the CEO in 2008, so he says that whenever people have opened a newspaper in that time, there was an embarrassing story about the Fiat. Either Fiat has lost some money, or its new car has flopped, or there was a strike somewhere. So like this, and further to complicate the things, the company had gone through 4 CEOs in just 3 years. You can just imagine what was the kind of situation the company was facing in those times. So just around 2003, one Mr. Sergio Macchion, he is an industry outsider. He is not related to the automobile industry. He was he was brought and put on the board of directors. Then in 2004, he became the CEO of the company. So after 4 years, that is from 2004 to 2008, what has happened? He has presented in his article, this was published in HBR in 2008. So he says that Fiat is firmly back in black. That means it has started making profits. And its latest car, Cinquecento, that has become the talk of the industry at that time. Then what he told, in these 4 years, he has abandoned the earlier model of leadership. You remember the great person theory of leadership, which we discussed under trade theories last week?
Yes.
So everyone feels that it is the job of the leader to run the organization and take it forward. But he says that not just the CEO, everybody has to participate and contribute, more like a democratic leadership style. So he says that he has abandoned this great model of leadership and created a culture where everyone is expected to lead, be it any position, whether he is a vice president or a manager or just a deputy manager, it is irrelevant. So every person in the organization is expected to take a lead in his own sphere of activity. Then he has particularly made some 4 very improvements in these 4 years That is what he is presented. First thing, he has searched for hidden leadership potential within the organization, youngsters who are having talent in marketing and other functions, whether they are located in the headquarters or even distant units. So all of them he has searched. And then once he has searched them, he has tried to engage them in several ways. That means that he has not just identified and left them. He has engaged them through formal performance appraisals, then informal conversations. This may not be happening in several organizations, but he's being a transformational leader. He has engaged in informal conversations with such people, and also engaged in exchange text messages with such people, youngsters. This way he has demonstrated his commitment to such future leaders, and also helping in improving the corporate culture. Second, he has set ambitious goals for the people and actively guided the managers for achieving them. Here you can see that all this has helped in launching the new car, Cinquecento, in a just 18 months, that is 1.5 years. Whereas the normal time to launch any new car would have been 4 years. And in this 18 months itself, not only they have launched it, but it has become a very popular car. Then he has also pushed the organization to be less inward looking. So that means that he has adopted the best industry practices. Like even for example, from Apple also, certain benchmarks were adopted. And he has also hired people from outside the automobile industry. Like he himself was from outside. He had no experience at the automobile industry. So similarly, he also has brought people from outside the automobile industry. And then last one, he has done a very important thing to understand the people and help people. Like he has helped opening kindergartens and grocery stores near the automobile plants, so that the employees can take the help of those kindergartens and grocery stores, and are able to make important adjustments. They are able to cope with the work-life balance. So that is why we can treat him like a transformational leader. You see the change he has brought in just about 4 years, from a company that is in deep red to profits in just 4 years. This is not a mean achievement. He has got several awards also in the European automobile industries. So they're coming to the last section. So what are the issues in leadership? So one question is whether men and women lead differently. Though intuitively we feel that men lead differently, women deal differently, it is not the case. There are more similarities than the differences in their leadership style. But one thing is very evident, that women adopt a more democratic style, whereas men follow a directive style. Then another question is whether through empowerment also leadership will be able to achieve the results. Yes, it says that effective leaders share the power and responsibility with the followers. Where this happens by leader showing trust. He is providing vision. He is removing the roadblocks, encourages, motivates, and coaches the subordinates for higher performance. He expects and believes in their capabilities. That is why he is able to achieve more, because they are empowered. All the followers, they feel empowered and give more output and have better satisfaction and better performance. But is it sufficient that only leaders are there, if capable leaders are there, transformational leaders are there, but leaders alone cannot complete the picture. They alone cannot deliver the results. Much depends on the followers. Only when the followers accept the leader becomes either charismatic leader, transformational leader, or effective leader, or successful leader. So that much depends on the state of the followers. Because in contingency theories, we also read about the followers. Followers also are important along with the leader and the situation. So, but what is the kind of followers that are to be there? What are the qualities that are required for becoming an effective follower? They should be able to think and manage their work independently. They should not be requiring supervision. That will reduce the cost for the organization. Then they are committed to a purpose that is beyond the self-interest. Only when they raise above their self-interest and accept the goals of the organization, they will be effective followers. Then they should master the skills and also deploy those skills for the maximum impact in the organization. Then they should be courageous, bold, honest, and credible, so that they are able to follow the leader and have better satisfaction and better results. Then another question comes, whether there is any biological basis for leadership. Definitely yes, the leader behavior is influenced by a host of factors like hormones, neurotransmitters, and genes. That means that it has some biological roots like neurotransmitters like serotonin, estrogen, this one, what is the testosterone. These are having impact on the leaders, performance of the leaders. So for example, serotonin itself is said to improve sociability and is helping controlling aggression. Then higher levels of testosterone is helping in increasing the competitive drive of the leaders. That is how they are able to perform better. Then another question is whether leaders and managers are similar. We have discussed in the beginning of the leadership theories itself that leaders are different and managers are different. Leaders are required for managing the change. Managers are required for managing complexity. And the focus is different on both leader and manager. For example, managers simply administer, but leaders innovate. Managers focus on systems, leaders focus on people. Then managers focus on doing the things right. Leaders focus on doing the right things. Managers maintain and leaders are interested in developing people and developing the situations, products, services, like that. Then managers rely on control. Leaders inspire trust. Then managers have only a short-term perspective. They see the performance of the company or the organization for a quarter, half year, or yearly, like this. But leaders have long-term perspective. Then managers are interested in maintaining status quo. Leaders are interested in challenging the status quo. Managers imitate. Leaders have original ideas and want to implement. These are some of the differences between the leaders and managers. Then coming to ethics and leadership, this is also a very important factor in leadership. It's very important to know and also do what is right. But this not everybody is able to do. But it is the duty of the leader to act and take decisions in an ethical manner. He has to lead ethically in both attitudes and interactions with the followers and others. So in ethical leadership, there are no universal ethics. The ethics in one industry may be different from the other. Ethics in one culture may be different from the other. Ethics in one nation may be different from others. So may not be to a very large extent, but some differences may be there. So leaders must be able to persuade all the followers also to act in an ethical manner. Then who can be an ethical leader? Only those leaders who are authentic. Those leaders who know who they are, what they believe in, what are their values, and those who are acting on those values and beliefs in an open and candid manner. The followers, only in such cases, the followers consider them as ethical leaders. The primary quality that is produced by the authentic leaders is trust. When the leaders share information, encourage open communication, and stick to the ideals and values they project and follow, then they inspire trust in the people. Then they have faith and they have generated commitment in the followers to accept the leader's vision and goals. So authentic leaders, as I said, knowing oneself, engage in self-reflection, receiving feedback from the trusted sources, that is how he can improve. Then they should understand their own life story. Then this is knowing and this is being. So they should develop their own unique style, apply their values, and also maintain a positive core self-evaluation. That is how they can show authentic leadership. So this brings us to the end of the chapter on contemporary issues. All the leadership theories we have studied, and also we have tried to understand the contemporary issues in leadership. Now we'll go to conflict and negotiation. Just give me a minute. Okay, friends, you are able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is a conflict? So
Sir,
conflict is a, yeah.
sir. So before going into conflict, I want to negotiate, sir, with you. kindly share PPT, your PPT,
Yeah, I
sir.
have done it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So conflict is a process. Before we go into the definition, just let us understand it as a simple concept. What is conflict? Conflict is some sort of friction or a disagreement or a discord between two persons or two parties, two organizations, two companies, two nations. It can be between any two parties. That is a conflict. So when we are seeing the definition, in one general definition, it is given as a process that begins when one party perceives that the other party has negatively affected or is about to negatively affect something that the first party cares about. That means here there are two parties. The one party is having a perception that the other party has either already negatively affected that first party or is going to negatively affect in future by his actions. That is what the first party feels. So some examples include conflict in work style. One person does a work in the 11th hour. The other person is proactive. That means there is a conflict in the styles of both people. Then there is a cultural conflict like dining etiquettes. It may be some based on some cultures. Then different celebrations. I don't know, this example may not be very accurate one. Then in general, what are the characteristics of a conflict? Conflict is much more than a disagreement. The parties may perceive a threat which can be either physical or psychological. Then it could be based on past experiences of the parties concerned. Then conflict could be a response based on the perceptions of the situations, and it is not based on the objective view. It is only based on the subjective view. That means the perception of the situation by the parties. So what are all those factors that can impact in conflict? That can be the values or the culture, beliefs, information, experience, gender, and so many variables that can be there, which can give rise to conflict. So conflicts can be substantive. That means they can be real or just imaginary also. They can be procedural conflict, and it can also have psychological dimensions. Then conflicts are very normal experiences at the workplace. We can hardly see any workplace without having any conflict. They are on predictable and expected lines when their corporations are very big or the nations are very big. Organizations are very big and they are managing very complex activities. So these conflicts require a creative problem solving strategies. We'll be looking into all these aspects as we go ahead. So conflicts, we need to understand what is a latent conflict, what is a perceived conflict, what is a felt conflict. So latent conflict is, we can say that this is the first stage of a conflict where the conflict promoting situations appear in the open between individuals or group. In this stage, only potential conflict inducing forces exist, but the conflict by itself has not yet emerged. For example, drive for autonomy or role conflict or competition for resources. They are the underlying factors. Then the perceived stage. At this stage, the people involved in the conflict become aware that there is also a conflict. So now they have been made aware and they complain to the management that this kind of conflict exists. So this conflict can be resolved by improving communications between the people or between group. This is called perceived conflict. The earlier one was latent conflict. That means it is not yet visible. It is lying underground somewhere. It is not yet in the open. So next is perceived conflict. That means the perception has come about the existence of a conflict. Next stage is felt conflict. Felt conflict is where the conflict is not only perceived, but actually felt and cognized. That means it is visible and recognized. Excuse me. So what are the levels of conflict in organizations? It can be at interpersonal, intrapersonal, intergroup, or interorganizational. Interpersonal can be caused by the rivalries within the personality due to personality differences. Intrapersonal, that means within the person itself, the conflict is emerging from some incompatible goals or expectations. Then intergroup, the causes are substantive, that are real. That is, there is a real conflict because of some competition for resources or any other substantive issue that is real, not just perceived. Then interorganizational, when it relates to the interorganization, there can be a competition for market share or even scarce resources. So let us understand these conflicts in a little bit more. So on the basis of involvement or the levels of conflicts, there are individual conflicts. In individual conflicts, there are again intra-individual conflicts, inter-individual conflicts. Intra-individual conflicts means the conflicts which are arising within the individual. This is at the individual oneself, at his own level, within himself, that is happening. So that can happen due to two reasons, like goal conflicts and role conflicts. So friends, do you remember any kind of goal conflicts? What can be a goal conflicts? You have heard about certain conflicts types: approach, avoid conflicts. Have you heard of them?
In
Anyone?
personality, just Raju sir explained while counseling. Approaches, approach to approach, avoid approach,
Positive
avoid.
approach and one positive and one negative is approach and avoidance. And avoidance means two are not good for the person.
Yeah. So coming to goal conflicts, there are three kinds of goal conflicts within the individual. First one is approach conflict. This is when a person is having two different exclusive goals. both are equally attractive, but the person can only select only one goal. That means, for example, let us say a person has got job offer in two organizations. Both are equally attractive. He doesn't know which one to accept, but both are equally attractive. So it is an approach conflict. He can accept either one and be done with it. There is no issue. But this is also a kind of conflict because he has to choose between one of them. Second one is approach avoidance conflict. That means one goal, single goal, it is having both positive and negative characteristics. So, for example, a person has been given a promotion, but on promotion, he or she is transferred to a distant place outside the city, in a faraway place. So, this promotion is having, this goal is having positive aspect and also negative aspect. What is the positive aspect? Positive aspect is promotion, and along with that, some pay increase and other benefits. But it is at the same time, it is having negative characteristic also, like the person will have to relocate. It will have some personal disturbances, additional costs. It is having both a positive and negative characteristic. So, but he has to choose to accept it or not. So this conflict is about only a single goal. Then the third kind of conflict is avoid. That means there are two different goals. Each of them is having negative characteristics. Both need to be avoided as such. So the person will not be able to decide very easily. For example, you take this one, that a person is given 2 job offers. One is having low pay, but it is within the same place where the person is resident. And another one is having high pay, but the job is located at a distant place. So the person is unable to choose. So if he is accepting one, he is not able to accept the other. That means he is not getting the best. It is like choosing between a devil and the deep sea. Like devil means, okay, here it will be a low pay, but in the same place, or accepting the job at a different place, like a deep sea, but will be losing the benefits. It is having higher pay, but we have to relocate like that. So it is the avoid conflict. Then comes role conflicts. In case of role conflicts, there are basically 3 types of role conflicts. Intra-role, within the role the individual is playing. So that role, for example, in work situations, whether he has to be autocratic or democratic in dealing with the team members. So in personal level, he feels that he has to be friendly with the colleagues, but as a part of the organization, he has to follow the organization rules. So there is a conflict between the role and also the personal orientation. Then case of inter-role conflict. Inter-role conflict means there are different requirements from 2 different roles. That is, for example, a person is in the production in charge, and he's for achieving the best results, he has to minimize the inventory. He cannot keep too much stock, raw material, and he will be producing in a certain fashion, the finished goods. But the sales people always want more quantity to be available. So there is a conflict. So on the conflict is between his own role and the role of the other person. So that is a inter-role conflict. Then frustration. When the person is not able to achieve his goal, so he is frustrated, he is not able to go, there is an obstruction, then the frustration comes. That is also one kind of conflict. Then coming to interpersonal or inter-individual conflict. Here also the conflict can arise due to several reasons. It could be due to personal reasons, because each person in the organization, be at whatever level, he is having a different family background, different education, different values, cultures. So when these 2 people are interacting, there can be personal differences and conflicts can arise. Then informational deficiency. That means the communication is not sufficient. There is misinformation. Then also interpersonal conflict can emerge. And role incompatibility. When there is a conflict between intrapersonal role and intergroup conflict, that also can be a source of conflict. Then due to environmental stress itself, there can be a conflict, like outside there are scarce resources, the downsizing is happening, or there is competitive pressure in the market. So all these situations also can result in interpersonal conflicts. Then intergroup conflicts, these can be due to several reasons, like competition for resources. Then it can be due to task interdependence. One group is dependent on the performance or output of other group. Then jurisdictional ambiguity, turf war can be there. Overlapping responsibilities, who has to do what. The one group may say that this is not my job, the other group may say that this is also not my job. That kind of jurisdictional ambiguity can be there. Then status struggle, both the groups can be trying for buying power, that is getting more resources. They will try to wield more power, gain more power. These are all can be intergroup conflicts. Then interorganization also will be similar, like intergroup conflicts only. It can be for resources, for markets, like that. Then we need to understand a little bit about the nature of conflict in organizations. So conflicts occur whenever there are disagreements in the social setting or the emotional antagonism that create friction between either individuals or groups. Like first one can be substantive, whether a fundamental disagreement over ends or goals to be pursued and the means for their accomplishment. That is a real kind of conflict. Then emotional conflicts can be the nature of interpersonal conflicts like anger, mistrust, dislike, fear, resentment, and all these can lead to interpersonal conflicts. Then what are the sources of conflicts? Like first one is resource scarcity. When the resources are scarce, the groups will vie for getting the maximum resources for themselves. So that will be creating a conflict between the groups or even between members of the same group also, the same team also. That is also possible whenever there is a resource scarcity, and either it can be divided or it can only be given to one part. Then our power or values. When interdependent people or teams differ substantively from one another in terms of status and influence or its values, then also it will be a source of conflict. Then due to role ambiguity also. So when the communication of task expectation is unclear, that is ambiguous, not crystal clear communication, or it is upsetting in some way, then it can be a role ambiguity related conflict. Then task and workflow interdependencies. When groups or people are working on different tasks, there can be interdependencies because of interrelationships. When these people are required to cooperate to complete the tasks, then it can be a conflict can emerge. Then domain ambiguities. When people are not having adequate direction or goals and misunderstanding such things, or customer jurisdiction or scope of authority, these domain ambiguities also can be a source of conflict. Then one important thing we need to understand regarding the organizational conflicts is whether the conflicts are in the nature of functional conflicts or dysfunctional conflicts. Functional conflict is one that supports the goals of the groups and improves its performance. Whereas dysfunctional conflict can be a conflict that hinders the group performance. So what are these types of conflicts, whether they will be functional or dysfunctional? Let us understand when we look into these three kinds of major conflicts which are occurring frequently at the workplace. The first one can be a task-related conflict. It relates to the goal and actual work that needs to be done. So this conflict, it is up to a level, it is a good for the organization because that will help in clarifying the task to be done. And once the tasks are clear what is to be done, it will improve the performance of the team. But if the task conflict is very high, it can affect the performance of the group. It may not lead to good results. Then process conflict. This also is related to the work situation only, how the work is to be got done. So on similar lines of task conflict, up to a moderate level, this process related conflict also can be good. But if it is very high, it can reduce the performance of the group. And relationship conflict. This conflict is related to the interpersonal relationships, either between the group members or between the intergroup. And this is a very bad situation. It will be disastrous, and this will be more in the nature of dysfunctional conflict. It will not be helpful. It is a dysfunctional conflict, and it is better to be avoided at all costs. Relationship conflict should be avoided. So how these functional and dysfunctional conflicts can impact? whether it should be low or high, intensity should be low or high, whether the impact, whether it is having negative impact or positive impact. So we can see that any kind of conflict, when it is low, but it can have impact on performance, can be little bit good, that is up to certain stage. But when the intensity is more, then it can reduce the performance and have negative impact on the performance, when more particularly if it is a dysfunctional conflict. So friends, I think we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next lecture because it's already 3 o'clock. So if there are any questions until this, you may keep them for the next session. Okay.
Sir, just a small question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how too little conflict can be negative for positive performance?
Yeah. We'll come to that discussion at the end of our this thing on conflict related, because there are 3 different views of viewing conflicts. So it is there is one traditional approach, there is one HR approach, there is an interactionist approach. Interactionist approach feels
Right,
that
sir. Thank you.
that is very little conflict is not at all useful, or absence of conflict is not at all useful. So the organization will be in a state of no growth. It will just be you can say that what do you call it? A state of inertia. So for organizational growth and development and people's growth and development, there should always be a certain level of conflict. That is what.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you, friends.
What you're going to cover, sir?
What about?
Tomorrow, what chapters you're going to?
Yeah, we'll continue with this thing, and followed by next 2 units, that is selection and this thing.
Okay, that is block 5.
Block 5 will commence, and
Okay.
hopefully we'll complete 2 units there.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. Thank
Thank you, sir.